Good afternoon, everybody. We have a very special guest with us today. Sapna, would you like to introduce yourself?
I would love to, Don. Thanks for having me on. I'm Sapna Budev, and I'm the Executive Director of the Sign Research Foundation. We're a partner to ISA, and I was actually at ISA for probably 10 years before starting at the foundation. I'm so delighted to be here with you.
Well, we're excited to have you. And the main reason I'd like to go into on why we're having you here is I don't believe the Sign Research Foundation is known well enough throughout our industry. And just really quick, I'd like to kind of tell you how I got to know you or know the Sign Research Foundation. Right around 2007, 2008, I was in Greenville, South Carolina, having some challenges. They're redoing their codes, their sign codes, and it was fairly restrictive. They're really trying to clamp down quite a bit. Very good city, but they had very strict rules. I contacted ISA for some help. They were phenomenal. They really gave me a lot of resources, a lot of help on how to combat them, and not necessarily make it confrontational, but more educational. Educate them on why they're damaging the businesses and why they're actually doing harm when they think they're doing cosmetic good. ISA not only loaded me with information, they actually sent an attorney to Greenville who sat next to me in a planning commission meeting, and we really did a good job of educating them and helped them alter the rules. And that was really the first time after years in the industry where I realized ISA wasn't just a trade show. I mean, it was really an organization that was here to help us and here to have a big influence on our industry. Well, fast forward, 8-10 years, I'm at ISA Converge, and they start talking about the Sign Research Foundation. I'm like, oh, if that was here in 2007, and we could have pre-educated them, prior to the the debate I had to have with them, how much better off could we have been? So I got really interested in the Sign Research Foundation. Was fascinated by what you're doing, so I wanted the chance to introduce you to the world. So first off, thank you for what you're doing for our industry, supporting our industry. But if you could maybe give a description to everybody on exactly what the Sign Research Foundation does for us.
Well, first of all, I absolutely love that story. I mean, it is 100% how most people find out about not only the work we do, but the really important kind of grassroots advocacy work that ISA does. And we're really strong partners. So when you first encountered this issue 10 years ago, it's a great example because what the foundation does is we produce academic research that covers all aspects of signage. And what you find when you are in situations like you were in, when you're talking to either a city council or just one city planner or some sort of stakeholder group, is if you say, I am a person who works in this industry and I therefore know what's best in terms of creating effective regulations, they're not so inclined to believe that you actually know that. They're inclined to think you're out for your best interest, right? Which of course most people are. However, if you hand them a piece of research that's written by a high-ranking academic at a venerable institution and say, oh, Dr. Kolaris says that in terms of effective signage and brand recognition and economic vitality, these 4 things have to be considered, and your sign code doesn't allow for them. So there's a number of ways that our research, it's why we work in tandem with ISA. ISA's grassroots team tells us what the pressing issues are in terms of regulatory environments, and we go out and we find academics who can research these things, and totally objectively, we are hands off. I mean, we have peer groups and advisory councils set up to vet the work as it goes along, but it's not industry vetting it. It's just, experts in their field. And so that ends up being far more effective.
For sure. So I heard you say academic research on multiple occasions. With all you do, and it's required to have that level of information. How do you translate it from academic to the sign industry to make it quick, easy, something that's very quickly digestible and easily digestible in the sign industry?
I'm really glad you brought that up. Goodness, that was, I think, my biggest challenge when I started. I will admit full out, I am a complete nerd. I love stuff that is, I will go real deep down the rabbit hole when I'm researching something. And yet, even for me, when I first started in this position and I started reading some of the work out there on, luminance and, color contrast and visibility, I was a little lost in the language. It can be very technical. And so one of the first things that I wanted to do is I basically read every single thing we'd ever written and then wrote down the kind of key points out of it. And eventually what that's turned into is executive summaries. And so now we have, 2 to 3 page executive summaries of every single piece of research. They are easy to understand. It distills for you the key information that you need in hand. It's also something you can hand to someone. So if are talking to a planner and you say, there's this 50-page report that's a longitudinal study on digital signage and traffic safety, they're probably not going to read it. But if you hand them a 2-pager,
more than probably.
And if you hand them a 2-pager and just say, spoiler alert, the result is digital signage has no effect on traffic safety, and this was done by, a PhD head of transportation engineering at Texas A&M University. So here's the summary.
Right. So I know you do a lot of training. You travel, you go to municipalities, to universities, and do some training. In the new COVID era, have you been? How's the effectiveness of what you've tried to accomplish in this new COVID era?
Yeah, I was pretty worried when when the pandemic first started. We were worried. We're a charitable institution, so all of our money comes from donations. So we're worried about our financial health and the financial health of most of the companies who contribute to us. But a lot of the work I do is outreach, and I or someone on my team or someone on my board speak at various events around the country. Very importantly, we hold workshops with planners all over the country, and that's where a lot of our work gets done. So I was nervous about it, and I had never even heard of Zoom. And then Zoom became our world. Just a Zoom girl living in a Zoom world. What I found, though, was delightful. It turns out that when you are by nature, I'm a frugal person, but when it comes to the foundation, I am much more frugal. I'm really careful that almost 90% of our money, of our charitable donations, go straight into the research and the outreach. So I started attending events on Zoom, and I could probably manage to make it to maybe 3-4 events a year prior to COVID. And after COVID, I was able to go to, I think it was like 17, just because I can do it sitting in my house and be very effective. Another thing we noticed is that I was able to gamify it. So I turned the education of both planners and sign industry into a really fun trivia game, and had them, retain learning in that way, which ended up being, not just your regular old talking head on a screen, just a little bit more engaging way to do it.
Very neat, very neat. And you find them to be receptive?
Well, the industry is desperate for the knowledge because they're the ones who have to go out there and have these conversations every day. So they are extremely receptive. The planners I was worried about, everything I'd heard was that relationship can be combative. Within one session, one workshop, I quickly learned that was not the case. What ends up happening is this. City planners are confined by bureaucratic red tape and the rules that govern them. They don't have the freedom to innovate and help us, but they want to. So a great example is we bring 50 planners to the ISA Sign Expo every year. We fund them. We call them the SRF Scholars, and we put them through 3 days of an intensive education. We put them in rooms with the people at sign companies who do permitting, and we have them talk to each other about how the process works and what might be right or wrong with it. And what we ended up finding out is that I can name at least 2 planners who have come. One has come back every single year in 4 years on her own dime, And the other one has come back twice when it was geographically convenient for her. She couldn't go across the country, but she could drive to Florida. And then they've done that on their own dime because they find it so incredibly valuable, and they're very receptive to it. It's not the relationship that most people think it is.
Very good, very good. Well, I'm going to do something so you don't have to. I want to talk about contributing, so you don't have to ask. But it is a charitable organization. Reece is proud supporters of it, and truly for us, it's almost a secondary. We need our sign companies to be successful, for us to be successful, and we understand our sign companies need people like you to make them successful. So we understand the importance of everything. So I do ask everybody. We will put a contact sheet at the end of this interview to how to reach out to the Sign Research Foundation, learn a little bit about it, learn how to utilize it when you have permit challenges, and we all have permit challenges. And I ask that our industry get behind the Sign Research Foundation as we do ISA and support them. We are a big believer, support the people that support the industry, and everybody wins. So Sapna, thank you very, very much for your time, and definitely thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much, Don. I appreciate your support, and thank you all out there. I hope you find your way to signresearch.org and contribute as well.
Perfect. Thank you now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.